Okay, so good evening, everyone. Today we are going to start with our new chapter, that is ecology. Okay, in ecology, this is the main unit of your NEET exam. So with this unit, we are going to start with our first chapter, that is organism and population. Before starting this, please let me know whether I am audible and visible to you or not. Okay, great. Let's start. So, in today's topic, we are going to cover the ecology, the definition and the meaning of ecology. Okay. Then we are going to discuss about the biosphere, the different biosphere we have, the components of biosphere, and then the environmental factor. So these will be our today's topic. So moving towards our first topic, that is the meaning and the definition of our ecology. So as you know, ecology is a branch of biology. It is a branch of biology that deals with the interaction or interrelation among the organism and their environment. Okay, so in ecology we are going to study the both type of relations among the organism themselves and in between the organism and their environment. Okay, so now we have two other terms which are equivalent to the ecology, that is hexicology and the ethology. The term ecology was first described by the Ernst Haeckel. Everyone knows him. He is the one who used the term, who coined the term ecology, but authentically the term ecology was first used by the writer. Okay, and he was also known as the father of ecology. So we have studied that ecology is a branch which is dealing with the relation among organism and in between organism and environment. Okay, that first term, sorry, the ecology term is coined by the Ernst Haeckel, whereas this term was first used by the writer, that is the father of ecology. Then we have the new term, that is Ecology. Ecology is the study of interrelationship of organism of a species. That means in ecology, we are going to talk about the relation of organism within a single species. Okay, so here we are only talking about the one species. But when we are talking about the synecology, then in synecology, we are talking or we are discussing the relation in between the groups of different species. Okay, in between the groups of different species. So in synecology, we are going to discuss about the different types of species which are present in our environment. Okay, is it clear to everyone? Okay, now move to the biosphere. See, everything which we are studying in our biology has its particular level. Okay, we have always start something studying from simpler to complex level, right? So the simplest level in our biology, in our ecology, starts from the macromolecular level. So where you have seen each and everything is made up of matter. Atom then combines to form element. Elements form macromolecule. So the सबसे least, the simplest and the first level of our biosphere, you can say, or level of organization is macromolecule. Then we moving towards the higher and complex levels. Initially, we have the cellular level of organization, right? then tissue level, then organ system level, and then we are talking about an organism, that is an individual. But when we are talking about the ecosystem in ecology, we are not restricted to this organism. We are further going to talk about the levels. Okay, so in ecology, we have levels beyond the organism, that is population, in which we are talking about a single type of species. Population is always resembling a single type of species, whereas we have no, next is biocenosis, that is the relation between the different type of species, and then we get the bioecosystem, in which we have a relation between the biotic and abiotic factor. Then comes our biome, that is the different habitats, the different areas, or we can say a geographical area in which all the biotic and abiotic factors are present. Okay, now, the first question is, what is the first level of organization? You have to give your answer through this poll. Your options are A, organ, B, cell, C, organism, and D, macromolecules. So what is the first level of organization? Great. So the first level of organization, as we have discussed, is the macromolecule. We start our organization with a macromolecule. When we have the macromolecule, they combine together, then they form a cell. Then cell lead to the formation of tissue, tissue formation of organ, and organ leads to the formation of organism. Okay. So the first level of our organization is the macromolecule. Now moving towards the biosphere. So biosphere has total three different regions. Three different regions. One is Earth, which is known as lithosphere, or we can say the terrestrial region, right? The terrestrial region is comes under our biosphere. Then the atmosphere, which we known as a blanket of air, which is present around us. And third is the hydrosphere, which is dealing with the water or aquatic system. Okay, so in total we have three different types of biosphere: earth, that is terrestrial and lithosphere; aquatic, that is hydrosphere; and aerial, that is atmosphere. So as you can see, atmosphere has the several layers itself. It is a blanket, a thick blanket which is covering our earth. It itself has the 5 different layers. The nearest most layer, which is present just above the surface of earth, or we can say the surface, the layer which is touching the hydrosphere and lithosphere of earth, is troposphere. Okay, in troposphere, the thickness of troposphere goes from 0 to 10 miles, and this is the layer where clouds are present, where your aeroplane can fly, and the layer where the maximum amount of oxygen is found. Okay, beyond that oxygen is not found. And mark one thing, as we go up in a layer, as we go up towards the atmosphere, initially temperature decreases, but after a limit, when we further go up, the temperature start increasing. Okay, so the temperature which stays in troposphere is from 62 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Whenever you have traveled in a flight, you have feel that the internal atmosphere of a flight is always cold. That is because of the troposphere. We are moving above the cloud level, so there we have a cold environment. Then we have the stratosphere. This is the second layer from the earth level. This is your second layer, which is the width of the stratosphere is 11 to 31 miles, and the temperature again dropped. It dropped from minus 60 Fahrenheit to 5 degree Fahrenheit, and this is the layer where our ozone is present, ozone layer, which provides the protection from UV radiations. Okay. Then we have the meso layer, the third layer. This is the layer when the meteors comes in the atmosphere, they start burning, right? They start burning due to cooling down and the friction which they have got. So the thickness of the mesosphere is 32 to 85 miles and the temperature is ranging from minus 130 degree to 32 degree Fahrenheit. Now you can see the temperature again has started increasing. Then we have our thermosphere. Okay, the thermosphere, the fourth layer, which has the quite high thickness, that is from 86 to 372 miles, and the temperature is now increased a lot. This is the outermost sphere. Okay, and here you can see the aura. If you have seen some National Geography channel or something, you have always seen that at the poles, North Pole or South Pole, they have showing the beautiful radiations in the night sky. So that can be seen through this layer, because at that poles we do not have the ozone layer, the stratosphere. Okay, and this thermosphere is the layer where the satellites usually make their orbit, and the last one is the exosphere. Okay, the exosphere is the outermost layer of our atmosphere, and it was found that exosphere is just a part of a space. Here the temperature is very high, and there is a very thick line present between the thermosphere and exosphere, that is known as exobase. You can see the difference in the temperature. Okay. Now we are moving towards the annual stratification. As you know, the earth keep on rotating and revolving around the sun. The earth rotates around its axis, but along with that, it revolves around the sun. So due to its rotation and revolution, the different region of earth, and earth is also tilted from its axis. If this is a earth, it has a slight tilt, right? So due to its tilt, whatever portion, whatever area of the earth faces the sun, it will get warmer, and the opposite one, if this is the sun, then this region of the earth become hot, whereas, or warm, whereas the opposite region will become the cool. Okay, and this complete one revolution take 365 days, that is your 1 year. So in the complete 1 year, we can see the different stratification, that is layering, which are formed in aquatic system, that we can compare with a lake or a river. So when we see the lake in a winter, the upper layer, some upper layer of the lake get solidified, right? Because of its freezing and low temperature. Then the layer just below that, the region of water just below that, the solidified layer is having a slight warmth. Okay, but when the winter ends and springs come over, okay, there is mixing of water starts, because the solidified or freezing layer start getting melted. Okay, when the layer melts, it will start dissolving, and due to the dissolving of ice, the water start mixing itself. So in a spring, the throughout temperature of the lake is same. Then in early summer, due to the exposure of direct sunlight on the upper surface of water, the upper layer remains hot, whereas the lower layers or the lower surface of the lake has the slight low temperature. Okay, then we are moving to the towards the late summer. As we move toward the late summer, high intensity of the sun rays penetrate our water or aquatic layer, due to which the most a thick layer of the water become warm, whereas the rest, a very small, a very thin layer of water stays cold. The same thing happens throughout the winter. Then the autumn appears, and in the autumn season, again, what happens? The temperature starts changing. So in autumn, winter begins, and the summer getting over. So again, the mixing of water temperature starts, and the water will remain the same throughout the depth. Next, we are moving towards the difference between the ecology and ecosystem. As I've told you, the ecology is the branch of biology. That is, it is a study which is dealing between the relationship among organism and the organism and environment. Whereas the ecosystem is a community of interacting organisms, right? Ecosystem क्या है? एक community है which is containing the interacting organism and their physical environment. Okay, so like we can say, if I am staying in at a particular state, so that state is become my ecosystem, because here I am interacting with my physical environment like air, water, and soil. Okay, so what is the relationship between the ecology and the ecosystem? Ecology includes the study of relation between the living organism and their environment. The main thing is ecology is a study, whereas ecosystem is can be a place. It is a place where we found the living organisms. Okay, they can be terrestrial, they can be aquatic. Okay, depending on the habitat of an organism. Now, moving towards the term habitat, habitat is a place, it is a physical place where an organism lives. Let's take an example of home and school. Okay, so home is a place where we live, where we stay. So home is our habitat, right? But when the place where organism perform its function, okay, a place which is a functional unit or a functional place for an organism is known as niche. So we can say our school is our niche. That is not habitat. We are not staying there. We are just going there to perform our function, that is studying, right? Then in habitat depends upon the organism. Whatever the condition, whatever the environmental condition is present in a habitat, it directly or indirectly affect the organism. Okay. Whereas in niche, we are the ones who going to affect the environment, right? So there is a little difference between the habitat and niche. Habitat is a physical place where we are living, whereas niche is a place where we are functionally active. Okay, so this is the difference between some ecosystem, habitat, and niche. So you can go through this. Now, your question is, what is the place where a particular organism lives called? Here we are discussing about the place where an organism is living. So for that, you can give your answer through this poll. Your options for this question are factor, niche, habitat, and environment. Okay, so feed your answer through this poll. What is the place where organism lives? Okay, so I got the mixed answer. Some are saying niche, some are saying habitat. So see, niche is our functional unit. Okay, it is our functional place. Whereas habitat is a place where an organism is surviving or living, right? So we cannot say na, if we are daily going to office or school, that is our habitat. No, there we are going only to perform our function, right? So the habitat is the only place where the person lives. That can be your home, or now you are staying in a dormitory. So dormitory is your habitat now. Okay. Now moving towards the environmental factors, as I have told you, environment has the physical and biotic and abiotic, both kind of thing, but they are majorly divided into two types of factors. They can be direct or they can be indirect. Direct factors are those which have a direct effect or direct influence on organism, such as temperature. If the temperature increases, सबके कूलर पंखे चल जाएंगे. Everyone start looking for the AC cooler, right? But whenever the temperature decreases, everyone goes for the bonfire and start wearing a multiple layer of sweaters, right? So this is how they are influencing the organism. Then light, humidity, soil, nutrients, and soil moisture. Now you are going to say how the soil is going to affect us. See, in a living organism, we are not only the animals surviving. In the living organism, we are also talking about the plants. Okay, so for the surviving condition of a plant, we need a good quality of soil with the good moisture and air content. Okay. Then we have the indirect factors. Indirect factors are those which are indirectly affecting, right? Such as soil texture or soil structure, precipitation. Precipitation includes both the rainfall, snowfall, or the hail storm. Okay, all these comes under precipitation. They directly, not directly, they indirectly affect us. Okay. Now, on the basis of their nature, now environmental factors have divided into the two major categories, that is abiotic factor and biotic factors. When we are talking about the abiotic factor, they can be climatic or they can be edific factor. We'll discuss these terms later. Okay, so abiotic, A, that is you are placing a prefix which is making it a opposite word, right? So biotic is living, so abiotic is non-living. So abiotic factor is a non-living factor, whereas the biotic factor is a living factor, which includes all kind of living organism, the plant, animals, microorganisms. Okay, everyone comes under this biotic factor. And it was found the biotic community is made up of animal, plant, and microbes. As I've told you, the living organism which we are talking about contains all the three: animal, plant, and microorganisms. Now moving towards our next topic, that is abiotic factor. As I've told you, the abiotic factors are further divided into the climatic factor and the edific factor. Okay, when we are talking about the climatic factor, they are definitely going to affect our weather. Okay, they are the factor which are affecting our weather. Okay, so they include temperature, light, air, atmospheric humidity, rain, and water. As you know, we are living in a country which is having a variety of seasons throughout the year. So you can feel some season have a high temperature, some have low, some are we can say some in some places summer are dry with a hot temperature, right? But in some places the summers are wet, right, humidified in a monsoon region. Then we have the edific factors. These edific factors includes the soil texture, substratum, topography, background, and mineral and pH distribution. That means which are going to influence our abiotic factor. Okay, जिनकी वजह से हमारे abiotic factor का structure और behavior change होता है. Those factors are edific factor. Okay, the factors which are going to influence our structure, behavior, and nature of our abiotic factors are edific factor. So, which of the following, your next question is, which of the following is known as the Edific Factor? Okay, I'm so sorry. Which of the following is an Edific Factor? Your options are A, light, B, soil, C, air, and D, water. Great. The answer is option B, that is soil. We have just discussed that soil is our Edific Factor. Okay. Now we are moving toward the details of these abiotic factor. First is the temperature. As we have already studied in our earlier classes, that temperature is actually nothing, just a degree of hotness and coldness of a substance. If the substance is hot, we can say the temperature is high. If the substance is cold, we can say the substance is cold. Okay, and this temperature can be affected by the further factors, that is latitude, altitude, topography, vegetation, and slope. The latitude, that is the changing imaginary line. We are moving from one geographical region to another. Altitude, the height from the sea level. Topography, conditions, vegetation, the plants, with the fauna which is present there. If the fauna is dense, the temperature will be moderate to or low. But if there is less fauna, then the temperature is definitely high, just like in desert. The temperature has a significant effect on climatic condition. If the temperature is very harsh, very high, then it can inhibit the activity of both the plants and animals, right? No one wants to work apart from their optimum temperature. We have already studied in biomolecules that each and every organism has their optimal temperature. You have also studied this graph when the temperature is optimum. Okay, when we have the temperature in a particular narrow range in which the organism perform its maximum activity. Okay, and when we start increasing the temperature beyond this, okay, like for example, the living organism can perform, or living the enzyme in a living organism body can perform a function good enough in a window of 25 to 30 degree Celsius. But now I have started increasing the temperature and reach up to the 50 degree Celsius. So this is just the double of our optimum temperature. At this time, the enzyme will get completely denatured. You have also studied that the proteins can be denatured by the temperature. So this high temperature inhibits the activity of our enzyme, due to which the metabolism or activity get hindered. Now, there are four types of vegetation. We can group the vegetation in four different groups on the basis of the temperature. First is megatherms. These are the plants which are growing at a high temperature throughout the year, right? These are the plants which are growing at a high temperature. Then, for example, is tropical rainforest. Then mesotherms. These are the plants growing in alternate high and low temperature. That means they are present in the area where the temperature can be high or temperature can be low. The example is deciduous tropical forest. Then the microtherms, they are only growing in a low temperature. Then we can see moderate temperature, that is coniferous forest. And last group of the plant is the Hexaology. That means the plant which are growing in the lowest, very low temperature, that is around freezing one. So we can see here the alpine vegetation which is present at the poles of the earth. Okay, so Then previously we have talked about, now we have talked about only the grouping of plants according to the temperature. Now we have the groups, the two major groups of animal depending on the temperature. The first one is eurythermal, or we can say homeothermal, thermic, endothermal, or warm-blooded. See, so many names are there. We organisms are always confused. We cannot stay with a single name. Like जैसे हम लोगों के 10 नाम होते हैं ना, घर पे कुछ और, फ्रेंड्स के लिए कुछ और, स्कूल में कुछ और, ऑफिस में तो कुछ और ही। तो उसी तरह हमने अपने लिए एक जो कैटेगरी बनाई है उसके भी हमने 10 नाम रख दिए। दे कैन बी यूरिथर्मल, होम्योथर्मिक, एंडोथर्मल और वार्म ब्लडेड, बट दे ऑल आर सेम। अब ऐसा तो नहीं है ना चिंकू मिंटू पिंटू किसी भी नाम से आपको बुलाओ, रहेगा तो वो एक ही इंसान है, अगर उसी के 10 नाम है तो। So animals which are able to tolerate wide variation of temperature, ऐसे animals which are able, which can tolerate your wide range of temperature, that is from lowest to highest degree of temperature, those are known as warm-blooded, because they know how to regulate their internal body temperature, just like us. We are also warm-blooded. Whenever the टेम्परेचर डिक्रीजेस, ठीक है, ठंड पड़ती है तो क्या करते हो, सारे के सारे जल्दी जल्दी कंबल में घुस जाते हो, रजाई ले लेते हो, या फिर बहुत सारी जैकेट्स पहन लेते हो। क्यों? क्योंकि हमें पता है कि हमें अपनी इंटरनल बॉडी हीट को कैसे प्रिवेंट करना है बाहर रिलीज होने से। सो वी आर रेगुलेटिंग आर बॉडी हीट बाय द यूज ऑफ physiological means, by the use of physiological means. But apart from that, we have the another category of animals which are known as stenothermus, poikilothermals, ectothermals, and cold-blooded. These organisms are not at all interested in maintaining their body temperature. They start changing their body temperature according to the environmental temperature. Okay, when the temperature increases, their body temperature also increases. When temperature decreases, their body temperature also decreases. So they are unable, they can decrease and increase their body temperature to a particular limit, but when the temperature started increasing and decreasing in a wide range, then they are unable to tolerate it. Okay, now they tend to match the environment in which they live, so they control their body temperature by physical means. Like अब बॉडी को चाहिए 30 डिग्री तक टेम्परेचर, 35 तक मान लो, ठीक है, 40 तक भी हम सहन कर लेंगे, बट 40 के बाद हमसे बाहर नहीं खड़ा हो जाएगा। तो एनिमल्स क्या कहते हैं, बरो बना लेते हैं, होल्स बना लेते हैं ग्राउंड के अंदर और उसमें जाके छुप जाते हैं, ठीक है। तो ये क्या होगा, जब टेम्परेचर एक्सट्रीम कंडीशंस में जाएगा तो these organism will become the inactive. Okay, they start becoming inactive and they hide themselves from the place. So now your next question is, what are the plants growing at high temperatures alternatively called? The plants which are able to grow at high temperature, we have just studied. Okay, so launch your answer, feed your answer in a poll. Okay, great. So the answer is megatherms. Okay, as the name itself says, mega matlab big and therm matlab temperature, right? So megatherms are the category of plant which able to tolerate high temperature. Okay. Now the next abiotic factor is our light. Okay. Here we are going to talk about. So light has the indirect and direct both influence on living organism. The main thing which influence the organism is its intensity and the direction. and also the quality. Okay, if for example in a winter time the sun rays are coming in a slanting form, they are not straight, they are diagonal. So when the light rays are diagonal, we don't feel them so hot. So सबको इस सर्दी में क्या करता है, धूप में जाके बैठ जाता है, right? But whenever we are talking about the summer, then at that time the earth is facing the direct or almost the perpendicular sunlight, right? Due to which we feel it very hot. Okay, so the light intensity, direction and light control has the good effect on organism, and these light can be used for photosynthesis, which is the main process. Without photosynthesis the producer can't survive, and if the producer can't survive, the another consumers would also would not also be able to survive. So we can say the light is the major process which is required for the photosynthesis. Now apart from photosynthesis, it is also helpful for the growth. As you know, the plants are phototropic, they show positive phototropism, they are shoot specifically. Wherever you keep the plant, ओके करा है ना बचपन में एक्सपेरिमेंट, एक डार्क रूम था उसमें प्लांट रख दिया और वहां पे कहीं एक छोटे से होल से लाइट आ रही थी, तो हमने देखा था कि जो प्लांट का शूट है वो तो कहाँ की तरफ मूव कर गया, जहां से लाइट आ रही थी, बट रूट उसके ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन में ग्रो करती रही, राइट? देन द मूवमेंट, किसी ने सनफ्लावर देखा है? सनफ्लावर क्या करता है, जैसे जैसे सन मूव करेगा वैसे वैसे वो सन की डायरेक्शन के साथ उसके फेस भी क्या होता रहता है, टर्न होता रहता है. Then photoperiodism, that means the duration of light is also affecting the growth of plant. Okay, अगर कुछ प्लांट्स होते हैं जिनको लॉन्ग ड्यूरेशन चाहिए होती है, कुछ प्लांट्स होते हैं जिनको शॉर्ट लाइट की ड्यूरेशन चाहिए. ओके, same with the lake. Now if we are talking about the aquatic habitats, then in a lake we form the different regions due to this light. So different zones of light are formed in an aquatic habitat. First is littoral zone. Littoral zone is the shallow coastal region where we have the land as well as the water. Then limnatic region. Limnatic region is a region where the water has a depth. Okay, and as we move to the depth of the water, the light penetration also decreases. Okay, which we can also describe in by two different terms: photic zone, the region where light can penetrate, and aphotic zone where light cannot enter. Then the last zone of the lake is benthic zone, that is the bottom region which always remain the dark throughout the year, and this can also be explained through this. You can see here in littoral region the water is shallow, we have the small amount of water but large amount of land. But in limnatic we have small land but good amount, that is deep water. And as the limnatic zone appears, with the depth of the water, the light penetration decreases. So you can see the water has the light color and the dark color. So the region through which light can enter in a water, the region where light penetrates is known as photic zone, whereas we have the aphotic zone, which is also known as profundal zone, where light cannot enter. Okay, where light cannot enter. Apart from that, we have the base region, this, the base of the aquatic habitat, where light can never reach. So it always remain the dark. Okay, is this clear to everyone? Great. Now moving towards the next abiotic factor, that is the water. So when we are talking about the water, for aquatic organism, the quality of water is very important, like their chemical composition, that is can be studied as the salt concentration and the pH. Each and every organism has enzymes. Okay, the biochemicals which is working in their body is enzyme, or each and every enzyme has their optimal pH for working. So the salt concentration and pH value of water affects both animals as well as plants. So according to the salt concentration, which is found as the salinity, okay, the salinity is the concentration of the salt per 1000 ml water. So is less than 5 in inland water. The salinity is found less than 5 in inland water, that is your groundwater. Then it is 30 to 35 in the sea region, okay, and it is more than 100 in a hypersaline lagoons. We have studied about the salt lake, no? You have studied geography, तो थोड़ी थोड़ी geography अच्छी होगी ना. The Wooler Lake is a highly saline lake, so their salinity is more than 100. Okay, now we have the different type of organism depending on their capabilities to survive or to tolerate the different salinity level of the water. So the organism can be euryhaline. Euryhaline, that means they are able to tolerate the wide range of salinity. Whereas another organism, the group of organism is stenohaline, which can only tolerate a very narrow range of salinity, or we can say the salt concentration. Okay. Now we have the another and the last abiotic factor which we are going to talk about today is the soil. Okay. So the soil is the upper weathered part. We have already studied the crust layer of the lithosphere is known as soil, and it have mineral particles. So composition is 45% mineral, 25% water, 25% air, and 5% is living organism and humus. Humus is the dead and decaying matter, organic matter. Okay, dead and decaying organic matter which is present in the soil. Okay, so the study of soil is known as Ethology, whereas we have studied, okay, there are different types of soils are found, and these soil can also get weathered. The soil can be destroyed, and there are several reasons for the soil weathering. They can be caused by the chemical weathering, that is by oxidation, hydrolysis, or some carbonation. It can be done by mechanical weathering, that is caused by the living organism like lichens, grazing animals, and earthworm. Then we have the physical weathering by water, wind, gravity, or glaciers. Okay, so there are three different weathering processes of the soil. They can be chemical, they can be mechanical, or they can be physical. Now moving towards the soil profile. As you can see on the right side, the picture of a soil profile, it has the four different region. And this region, this profile has the small and large portions of different depth. These portions are known as horizons. They are known as horizon. So we can say in this soil profile, we have the four different horizon. The uppermost layer of the soil is the O horizon, where the humus and the ground surface is present. And this is the region where your plant is found. Then the A horizon, this is the topsoil, which is rich in organic matter, and this is also known as the zone of leaching. Then we have the B horizon. Again, we are moving towards the depth. Now we are moving towards the depth. As we are going O to B, we have reached a particular depth. This is known as the subsoil or the zone of accumulation. As you know, the dead bodies get buried, or when the ice age appeared, anything appeared, so a layer of soil keep on accumulating one over other. So it was found those buried material are generated in the B horizon only. So that is why it is known as zone of accumulation. Then this region is rich in calcites and okay. So calcite, where is this is present in an arid climate, that is the dry and hot climate. Okay. Then the last is our sea horizon. That is the deepest layer of the earth, which contains the weathered bedrocks. That means it has the big chunks of rock which is unable, where our plant roots unable to penetrate. Okay. So the plant, as you can see in this figure, the plant root can reach up to only the depth of B horizon. After that, they are unable to penetrate the ground because of the presence of this large rocks. Okay, so the sea horizon are also known as the bed rock. Next, your question is, what does good soil provide? What is the main function of the good soil? What it's the main content of your good soil? Distortion, speed, minerals, or reproduction? This is the very easiest answer. You can easily make a tukka. यहाँ पे तो कोई तुक्का भी लगा सकता है. बताओ जल्दी. The soil provide good. Great. The soil provide very good. So everyone has given the good answer and a correct answer, that the soil provides the good amount of minerals. Soil is rich in minerals. It doesn't have speed. उसके पास पैर नहीं है. Soil अपने आप को divide नहीं करती, तो it cannot reproduce. So our answer is minerals. Now, there are different responses to this abiotic factor. On depending on the response, we have the different rules. So here we are going to talk about the 5 rules. First is your Bergman rule, but before moving towards the rule, let's discuss what is hemostasis. So as I have already discussed, we are the warm-blooded people. We are able to regulate the temperature of our body. So when we are maintaining our internal environment with respect to the change in external environment, if an organism is able to maintain its internal environment compared to the change in external environment, that ability, that process of maintenance is known as hemostasis. Okay. So there are various responses are regulated. Okay, the various responses to regulate the abiotic factor. They can be regulated, they can be conformed, they can be migration, there can be suspension. So before moving towards the detail of these responses, let's talk about the first rule of the response to abiotic factor. So the first rule is our Bergman rule. This says that birds and mammals attain the greater body size in the colder region. ये तो हम कंपेयर भी कर सकते हैं, बहुत अच्छे से कर सकते हैं. अगर हम हाइट कंपेयर करें किसकी, द पीपल हु आर स्टेइंग इन इंडिया और इन अफ्रीका एज कंपेयर टू द पीपल स्टेइंग इन द अमेरिका, राइट, कर लो जरा. बट नाउ यू आर एबल टू सी कि हर जगह ऐसा नहीं है. नाउ यू कैन सी द उनकी हाइट है, अच्छी है, बट इतनी भी ज्यादा नहीं होती. सो बर्गमैन रूल कहता है कि जो बर्ड्स और मैमल्स होते हैं उनकी बॉडी का साइज कोल्डर रीजन में ज्यादा होता है एज कंपेयर टू द वार्मर रीजन. देन वी गॉट द एलेन्स रूल. ओके, द एलेन रूल सेज जो एनिमल है कहाँ से, फ्रॉम द क्लाइमेट, कोल्डर क्लाइमेट, they usually have the shorter ears and limbs to minimize the heat loss. अभी तो कुछ अलग हो गया. That because you know when you increase the surface area, the heat will lose. ज्यादा surface area heat loss होगा. तो यहाँ पे क्या करना है, हमें सरफेस एरिया कम करना है। सरफेस एरिया कम करते ही जो हीट लॉस है वो अपने आप ही कम हो जाएगा। सो अकॉर्डिंग टू एलेंस लॉ, कोल्डर रीजन के जो एनिमल्स होते हैं उनका ईयर्स और लिम्स का साइज क्या होता है, थोड़ा सा छोटा होता है, ताकि मिनिमाइज हो सके, ताकि हम कम कर सके हीट लॉस को। देन वी हैव द थर्ड, द जॉर्डन्स रूल। Okay, now here the Jordan rule says जो फिशेस कोल्ड वाटर में रहती हैं, ओके, जो फिशेस कोल्ड वाटर में रहती हैं, दे हैव मोर वर्टिब्रे, दैट मींस दोज आर vertebral as compared to those who are studying staying in a warmer region. Okay, next we have the Gloggers rule. The Gloggers rule says animals of tropic region are more darker in color and highly pigmented than in Arctic region. Correct. The tropic region is where we are getting the direct sun rays. Okay, the distance between the sun and the earth remains small. Okay, the we can say the length of the sun rays are smaller, so we are getting the high heat, due to which the intensity of, or we can say the pigmentation of the skin increases, because that pigmentation is because of melanin, and that melanin is protecting our body from the UV rays, which you have already studied. So the tropic region, that is your region of equator, has the high consumption of heat. There you can see the high intensity of light is present. So due to the presence of high intensity of light, their skin color is darker. Okay, last is your Wrench rule. This wrench rule says the birds of a colder region have the narrow wings, okay, then found in the warmer region. The same reason applies. जो warmer region के birds होते हैं, they have a wider wings as compared to the colder region. So is this clear to everyone? Okay, great. So in next class, we are going to discuss this regulators, the factors which are required for the regulation of the abiotic factors. Okay, the various response which are generated to the abiotic factors. Okay, in our next class. So this is all for today's class. Please give your feedback through this NPS poll. Okay, and you have to do the homework. For the homework, you have to go through your NCRT first. Please go through these notes and NCRT as well. The NCRT is very important. If you are not go through the NCRT, you are unable to get your basis cleared. Okay, so apart from understanding or learning these, you need to read your NCRT and start making notes for that, and along with that start doing your module questions. Okay, so around half of the chapter we have completed, so start doing your module questions. Okay, so whatever you doubt have, we'll take in the next class, or if you have any doubt, you can leave those doubt in the chat box so that we can clarify them. Okay, so this is all for today.